It used to be that £100 million was reserved strictly for generational once in a lifetime talent. Prime Ronaldo, Prime Bale, Neymar, guys who won Ballon d'Ors or single handedly carried clubs to Champions League trophies. Now, if a midfielder completes three forward passes in a row and has a decent haircut, his club slaps £1 million price tag on his head, and Chelsea or City show up with a briefcase full of cash. The baseline is broken, and we need to talk about how we got it. Let's look at the absolute peak of this madness right now. Elliot Anderson. Manchester City dropped £116 million on Nottingham Forest for him. We're lucky they didn't do 115. Read that again. £116 million. Don't get me wrong, Anderson is a quality player. He had a great season, broke into the England squad, helped Forest push into Europe, but since when does one good season make you the most expensive British player in football history? And before City fans even started printing the shirts, Chelsea looked at the deal and said, hold my beer. Arsenal spent weeks negotiating with Villa for Morgan Rogers, trying to do normal business. What happened? Chelsea kick into the front door, drop £117 million and hijack the deal and bring him to Stamford Bridge. Bro, 2.5 years ago, Morgan Rogers was playing for Middlesbrough in the Championship. He was getting loaned out to Bournemouth and Blackpool. He has one big season at Villa, shows real quality, and suddenly he's worth more than Jude Bellingham was even when he signed for Real Madrid. Is this a joke? How did we even reach a point where £100 million is just the standard starting price? It didn't happen overnight. It was built on years of clubs overpaying for players who hadn't actually proven they were world class. Look at Sandro Tonali going to Tottenham for £100 million. A solid midfielder, great engine, decent technical ability, but £100 million for a guy who hadn't dominated Europe yet. Then you look at Moises Caicedo for £115 million. Enzo Fernandez for £107 million. And then you have Declan Rice for £105 million. Declan Rice, a player who proved his quality and no one talks about his price tag. Declan Rice is one of the only players that maintained the price level. If you can tackle, run for 90 minutes and play a 5-yard sideways pass, your agent is automatically demanding £80 million. The midfield tax in modern football is out of control. Clubs aren't paying for what a player is actually doing right now. They're paying £100 million purely for potential. How does that make sense? Even I'm worth £100 million by that logic. And you know what the funniest part is? The profit and sustainability rules. PSR were literally designed to stop clubs from burning money, but it has completely had the opposite effect. Clubs are so terrified of missing out on young talent before their price explodes that they pay the inflated price up front. Todd Bowley came into Chelsea, handed out 8-year contracts like candy, dropped £1 billion in 3 transfer windows, and completely ruined the baseline for everyone else. Now, if Aston Villa or Forest are holding a young English talent, they know they can hold the big six hostage because someone will pay. Let's do a serious reality check. If a club spent £100 million on a footballer, that player should be guaranteed to walk into any starting lineup on the planet and single-handedly elevate the entire team. Mbappe? Fair enough. Haaland? Yeah. Vinny? It makes sense. Jude Bellingham? He went to Madrid, took over the league in his first season and proved he's built for the highest level. But then, when you've got players who aren't even the undisputed best player in their own national team position commanding £110 million, the number has completely lost all meaning. It's like monopoly money at this point. And the craziest thing is how low the success rate actually is for these mega transfers. Look at the crazy history of £80 million to £100 million signings. Man United spent over £80 million for that fidget spinner, Anthony, a guy whose main highlight was doing a 360 spin before passing it out of bounds. Chelsea dropped nearly £90 million on Mikhailo Mudryk after a handful of good games for Shakhtar Donetsk. Real Madrid paid over £100 million for Eden Hazard, only for injuries to ruin his career at the Bernabeu. Then Coutinho to Barcelona for £105 million, ended up coming back to haunt them in the Champions League while on loan at Bayern. Even Jack Grealish going to Man City for £100 million. Yes, he won a treble, but was he performing like £100 million generational winger every week? Or was he just a cog in Pep's system? When 8 of £10 million signings struggle to live up to the price tag, you have to ask why clubs keep falling into the exact same trap every time. It's not just the transfer fee ruining the game either, it's what happens after the ink dries. When a player costs 110, his agent isn't going to accept average wages. They demand 300 grand a week minimum. And then you get the new Chelsea strategy, handing out 7 to 8 year contracts. Think about that. If the 100 million player turns out to be a flop, you're stuck paying his massive salary for nearly a decade, mate. You can't sell him because no other club on earth is willing to match his wages. You basically handcuffed your own club's finance for the next 10 years just for a bit of transfer window hype. The bottom line is this: the market isn't just inflated, it's totally detached from reality. We've gone from paying £100 million for Ballon d'Or winners to paying £115 million for hype, potential and panic buys. But I want to hear from you lot in the comments. Is the transfer market completely ruined, or are players like Anthony Gordon, Anderson and Rodgers actually worth £115 million in today's game? Who is the biggest transfer flop in football history? Drop your takes down below, smash the button, hit subscribe.